What's up guys, Meredith with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we are checking out the K&N Series 77 High Flow Performance Cold Air Intake fitting all 2022 and newer Toyota Tundras. Now if you're looking for some more potential out of your Tundra's V6, whether you're towing or hauling with your truck, or you simply just want to feel a small boost in performance, this high flow intake system will be one to consider. Now the filters here, which will be a huge improvement from your factory system, will also be reusable for the lifetime of your truck and last much longer, being friendly on your wallet and maintenance in the long run. Now right up front, I do want to mention that this system is not CARB certified, so also just keep that in mind when you're checking this out. Now this system will offer substantial benefits compared to your factory one, including a large increase in flow due to a couple different features like the unobstructed intake tubes, unrestricted heat shields, and the efficient filters. Now with that, K&N does claim a dyno-tested 18 horsepower increase at 5,200 RPM and an increase of 18 pound-feet of torque. Now paired with the FI motor, that will be pretty considerable for gains for an intake system and can certainly be increased with a tune. Now, in addition to offering performance, the thick filters will increase their filtration and protect your motor while maintaining a 95 to 99 efficiency rating according to K&N, and will not need maintenance for up to roughly 100,000 miles or 6 years, depending on your lifestyle, which is pretty significant compared to your factory one. Now, one of the best parts though is the sporty appearance underneath the hood that will make you smile every time you open it. Now breaking down the build here, starting with the intake tube, this is going to be made of a mandrel bent polished aluminum, which will offer that shiny classic appearance and smooth airflow on top of that. The heat shields are made of a powder coated steel material that will also be flexible. They are thin steel, so you'll be able to get them in place and fit them well in your tight engine bay, and they are going to resist any corrosion on the metal because of that powder coat, and the rubber seal on the outside will protect the filter from any hot engine bay air, keeping those intake temps down. Now speaking of the filter, this will be made of a 4-layer woven cotton covered in a synthetic oil, which will trap all of those micro contaminants and anything that you don't want in your intake system while allowing that free flowing air in. Now all of the hardware is to be included and will be durable and maintain a long-lasting construction, including high temp resistant couplers and the stainless steel clamps needed. This kit is going to come in at about $550, which is right on par compared to other high performance kits like it. Now one thing that does stand out about this system is the substantial increase in flow and filtration that you are getting. Now other choices may be a little bit more restrictive or closed off because of the design, or just may consist of a replacement filter, as to where this is going to be an entire kit that will give you the performance that you may be looking for. Now install is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, just because you do have 2 intakes here, and I would say it should take you about 3 hours, give or take, to get the job done. Now at this point we can head over to our shop and check out a detailed breakdown on how to get this onto your Tundra at home. So that is going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
The tools you'll need for this project are a 1/4" drive ratchet, an 8 and a 10 millimeter socket, a 3-inch extension, a small flathead screwdriver, a 3 millimeter and a 4 millimeter Allen wrench, a pair of needle nose pliers, a pair of side cutters, a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, some sort of measuring device, and you'll also need the included super glue. Hi everyone, today we're installing a couple of cold air intakes on our Tundra, so let's get started with the uninstall of the stock intakes first. So first thing we're going to do is disconnect the negative battery cable from our battery. That way everything will reset, so when we put the new intake on, we're starting all fresh with gathering data. So we're going to use our 10 millimeter socket to loosen up the nut on our negative clamp and go ahead and lift that off. And push our negative clamp down out of the way. Now we can go ahead and disconnect our mass airflow sensor. And just to be clear, we are working on the passenger side right now. Once we get the passenger side uninstalled, then we'll move over to the driver's side. But the process is going to be the same for both sides. So to disconnect our mass airflow sensor, you just push down on the release tab and pull the connector straight out. Now once you've got that done, then we need to remove the wiring harness from this clamp right here on top of the airbox. And so we're going to be using a small flathead screwdriver, and we're going to stick it into the end of the clamp here, and then give it a little twist and open it up, and then we can get the harness out of the way. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen up this clamp here on the upper tube with our 10mm socket so that we can remove that tube. And once you've got that loose, then we can go ahead and release the clamps. Now we can release the clamps on the air lid box simply by pushing down and away. Once we do that, we can go ahead and lift our airbox cover up, remove the tube at the clamp, and then remove our air filter. Now, using a pair of needle nose pliers, we're going to squeeze this clamp together here for the PCV hose and remove the PCV hose from the tube. And then right behind that is a 10mm bolt that we're going to take out so that we can remove this tube. And then we're going to loosen the clamp at the bottom and lift the tube out. Pull our tube off. Now, right below this outlet for the PCV hose, it's very difficult to see, but there's a 10mm bolt that holds this tube to the engine. We're going to use our 10mm socket and remove that bolt. Now we'll use our 10mm socket. We'll loosen up that clamp at the bottom of the tube. Now we should be able to just lift this right off and get it out of the way. Now we can go ahead and lift our lower air box out simply by pulling straight up off of the retaining studs and get it out of the way. Now we're going to remove these 3 retaining studs for the original air box right here using our 10mm socket. So now we're going to go ahead and repeat that whole process for the driver's side here. We're going to disconnect our mass airflow sensor, disconnect the wiring harness from the clamp, and then we'll loosen the clamp up for the top tube, and then remove the upper air lid box cover and the air filter. Push down on our release lever, pull the connector out, then using our small flathead screwdriver, insert it in the bottom of the clamp, give it a little twist, and get the harness out of the way. Now we'll loosen up the clamp on the upper tube. Now release the clips on the top of the air cleaner box, lift it up, remove the hose, and lift out the air filter. Now we'll use our needle nose pliers and compress this spring clamp for the PCV hose. Slide that back, disconnect the PCV hose. And now we're going to remove this bolt right here that holds this upper tube together on the bracket using an 8mm socket and an extension. Now we're going to loosen the clamp at the bottom of the intake tube here using our 10mm socket and an extension. We'll loosen that clamp up. Now we can go ahead and lift up on our tube and get it out of the way. Now we can lift our lower air box out of the truck simply by pulling up on it. Now we'll remove our 3 retaining studs for the air box using our 10mm socket. Now this next step, we're going to take care of the passenger side and the driver's side at the same time. So we're going to put our heat shield together, and then we're going to put on our rubber trim as well. So just put your heat shield together. This is where your filter adapter is going to go. And it's going to go on the inside of the bends so that we can attach our air filter to the large side here. Now the way that you can tell that whether you've got the passenger side or the driver's side is at the very bottom of this air filter hole. On the passenger side, you have a part number that ends in 63. You also have these 2 holes up at the top for the K&N badge that goes in there, and it's going to be towards the outside of the vehicle when it's sitting in. So it's going to sit into the cavity like this. Your air logo, your K&N logo is going to be on the outside here, and your adapter is going to be on the inside. So we're going to go ahead and put our adapter in, and then using 2 button head bolts that are included in the kit with some lock washers and flat washers, we'll go ahead and secure that to the heat shield. We'll put our bolt in with our flat washer and our lock washer. Do the other side. Now we'll go ahead and tighten those bolts down using our 4mm Allen wrench. Now once we've got those tight, now we can go ahead and apply our K&N logo. And we're just going to press this in to the 2 holes there. It should just snap right in, like so. Once we've got that in, we can go ahead and use this plastic retaining plate. Now you'll notice that it does have a couple of raised edges on the back side of the holes. Those are going to be facing out away from the heat shield. And we're just going to press this in and lock that logo into place. Now we can do the same thing for the driver's side. We'll put our adapter in, secure it with 2 bolts with the washers. And tighten them down with our 4mm Allen wrench. Put our logo into place, snap it in, and then put our locking plate on the back side. All right, now we need to put our rubber trim that is included in the kit along the outside edge of our heat shield. Now you'll notice when you look at them that they are 2 different lengths. We have a 61-inch and a 66-inch piece of trim. The 66-inch piece is going to be used for the passenger side. So we'll go ahead and remove the other one for right now. And what you're going to need to do is cut this 66-inch piece for the passenger side into 2 different lengths. We're going to have a 12-inch piece and we're going to have a 49 3/4-inch piece. So we'll use our tape measure, measure out 12 inches, and use a pair of side cutters to cut this off at 12 inches. And then we'll measure the next piece at 49 3/4. Now we'll take our 12-inch piece and put it along the bottom edge of our heat shield here, just pressing it on, and it will hold itself in place. Just press it down until it seats all the way. Bend it around the corner, and just keep pressing it in until it's fully seated. Now we can do the same thing with our longer piece, starting from the other edge on the outside and wrapping it all the way around the top edge. And that takes care of our passenger side. Now we'll go ahead and do our driver's side. Now for our 61-inch piece, we're going to cut this one at 10 3/4 inches for our short piece and 48 inches for our longer piece. So we'll go ahead and measure this out for our 10 3/4. Get that cut off. And now we'll do one for 48 inches. Now we can put our short piece along the bottom edge here between the mounting bracket and the other mounting bracket. Just like the passenger side, we'll just push this in until it's fully seated. Wrap it around the corners. Now we can start with our longer edge. And just work our way around. And now our heat shields are put together. All right, now we can transfer over our mass airflow sensors from the old system to our new system for both sides. Now you also want to make sure that you're getting the correct tube to install on the new system, and make sure that the mass airflow sensor transfers over from the correct side. So this is our passenger side here. As you can see, it's marked with an R. And the new pipe is going to have a number ending in 1 right here on the side next to the mass airflow mounting point. Also, you're going to notice that the PCV connection is pointing towards the inside, towards the motor. That's how you know you're dealing with the right one. So now we'll go ahead and use our number 2 Phillips screwdriver, remove the mass airflow sensor, and then using the supplied screws from the kit, we'll attach it to our new pipe. And with our screws removed, we just lift our mass airflow sensor up, and then we'll just install it onto our new pipe. All right, now we just slide our mass airflow sensor into our new pipe. And it is a little bit of a snug fit, so you may have to just wiggle it back and forth a little bit. Now, when you put this in, it will only line up with the holes one way. So if you put it in and realize that your holes don't match up, pull it back out, turn it 180 degrees, and put it back in. Then using the supplied bolts from the kit, we'll go ahead and secure that to our new pipe. And then tighten it down with a 3mm Allen wrench. Now we'll do the same thing for the driver's side. Again, we'll secure it using a 3mm Allen wrench. All right, now we're going to put our 2 small clamps onto our small coupler here, and we're going to install the coupler on the turbo inlet connector right here on the passenger side. Now you want to make sure that the bolt for the clamp is facing out so that you can access it with your 8mm socket and tighten down that lower clamp. All right, now we can install our passenger side heat shield. And you'll see there's a mounting tab here and also one on the back side. And these are going to be reusing 2 of the holes that we removed those ball studs earlier from the factory system. So we're going to place this down into the cavity, and then using the supplied hex head bolts with lock washers and flat washers, we'll go ahead and secure this to the truck. All right, now we'll install our first bolt here in the bottom, and now we'll install the one on the back side of the heat shield. All right, now this second hole may be a little bit difficult to see, but it's right here at the bottom of the heat shield, right in front of the fuse box. So we'll go ahead and put our bolt in. All right, now once we've got them started, we can go ahead and tighten them down with our 10mm socket. Tighten down the front one. All right, now we'll put our 2 clamps on our hump coupler here, and then we'll attach this to our air filter adapter on the heat shield. So we'll go ahead and slide that over, making sure that it's all the way seated. And then make sure that your clamp is in a position where you can actually tighten down the bolt with your 8mm socket. All right, now we're ready to install our inlet tube with our mass airflow sensor. Now the kit does come out with these air straighteners that goes into the inlet tube right in front of the mass airflow sensor. And when you put these in, you're going to want to make sure that the flat blades of the air straightener go in like that in reference to the mass airflow sensor. You don't want to have them going upside down because it won't fit that way. So we'll put it in like this. Now, to make them stay, the kit includes a tube of super glue. So what you're going to want to do is take your super glue and you're going to put 4 drops on the back side of this air straightener. So 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom, and 1 each on the sides. And then once you get that done, go ahead and slip it into the tube and let it sit for a couple seconds, make sure that it seals, and then we can go ahead and install our tube. Now, because we're not going to make this a permanent addition to our truck, we're not actually going to apply the super glue to this. So we're just going to put it in here for now, just to show you where it goes, and then we'll go ahead and install our tube. All right, now before you install your tube, you do want to make sure that you have your clamps already on your couplers, and make sure that you've got the correct tube with the PCV outlet pointing towards the engine. Now we go ahead and slip the end in near the turbo first, and then we'll attach the coupler to the other end. Once you've got it in place, we can go ahead and tighten down those clamps with our 8mm socket. Now we'll get the clamp on the turbo side. Again, making sure that you've got the bolt positioned, that you have easy access to it with your socket. Now it's a little difficult to see with everything that's already attached to the engine, but now we're going to go ahead and reconnect our PCV hose. And the fitting on the tube is down below. So you're just gonna have to feel around and place the hose onto that fitting. All right, so now once we've got the hose on, we can go ahead and squeeze our spring clamp to open it up. Slide our clamp up to the end of the hose. And then you can go ahead and release the clamp, and it should secure it to our new tube. Now we can reconnect our mass airflow sensor connector. Slide it on, push it in until it snaps in, give it a little tug just to make sure it's locked in. Now we can install our air filter. All right, now we can put the large clamp on our air filter and install our air filter to our heat shield. And then using our 8mm socket, we can go ahead and tighten up that clamp. And now we'll repeat that whole process for the driver's side. All right, now we can slide our clamps over our small coupler and get this installed on our turbo inlet. Now again, it is difficult to see with all the hoses and tubes and wires and everything else, but you know where it's at because you already disconnected the original. So we'll slide this over the inlet on the turbo, making sure, of course, that your clamp is facing a position that you have easy access to it. And then you can go ahead and tighten down that lower clamp with your 8mm socket. Now we can install our driver's side heat shield, and again, we'll be reusing 2 of the holes for the ball studs from the original system and using the supplied hex head bolts with the flat washer and the lock washer, we'll secure that to the vehicle. Now we'll get the one on top. And we'll tighten them down with our 10mm socket. Now we can install our hump coupler to our airbox adapter. Make sure that you've got your clamps, again, facing a position that you have easy access to be able to tighten them down. And then we'll go ahead and tighten down the clamp that's closest to the air filter using our 8mm socket. All right, now you can go ahead and apply your 4 drops of super glue to your air blades. Insert that into the end of the tube next to your mass airflow sensor. Get that secured. And then go ahead and install your tube into your couplers, starting at the bottom on the turbo side. And then we'll put it into our coupler on the airbox. So we'll work that into our coupler. And now we can tighten down both clamps on the air filter side and on the turbo inlet side using our 8mm socket. Now we'll tighten up our top clamp on our turbo inlet, again using our 8mm socket. Now we'll reconnect our driver's side PCV hose to our new tube. Slide that on. Compress the spring clamp, slide it up to the top and release it. Now we can reconnect our mass airflow sensor. Plug this in, make sure it snaps into place. Now we can connect our air filter. Put our large clamp on our air filter, slide it over our adapter, and then tighten it down with our 8mm socket. And finally, we'll reconnect our negative battery cable to the battery and tighten it down with our 10mm socket. And that wraps up our review and install of the K&N Series 77 High Flow Performance Cold Air Intake for the 22 and newer Tundra. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Tundra, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.